We started to project weakness when Afghanistan fell. That ugly surrender to the Taliban, that's what it was, a surrender. But the Gold Star families, 13 servicemen and women killed by a suicide bomber. We'll have the sniper who had the suicide bomber in his sights, asked for permission to engage, and was denied that permission. There was a call for an airstrike against ISIS-K, which, by the way, came out of Bagram when that prison was released, denied access to engage in the airstrike. What's so sad for these parents is it could have been prevented, and their child is dead now.
That was House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCaul with me on Sunday Morning Futures this Sunday on his investigation into the 13 servicemen and women killed during President Biden's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan back in 2021. This as Florida Congressman Cory Mills files articles of impeachment against Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, alleging high crimes and misdemeanors. Congressman Mills posting the articles on X, writing this: high-level officials in this administration blatantly ignored intelligence that Americans and our allied partners in Kabul would be left behind in harm's way unless the U.S. corrected course in our withdrawal. Congressman Cory Mills joins me now. He's a member of the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. And I know this is personal to you. You have served our country with honor. Congressman, tell us what happened here and how Lloyd Austin blew it.
Well, thanks for having me back on, Maria. The bottom line is that Lloyd Austin is ultimately responsible as the Secretary of Defense for any of the actions that take place within the Department of Defense. We know that he tried to claim that there was no credible intel that would actually have led and or prevented the incident that occurred. Now, I've had the privilege of going into the SCIF, into a secure area, and actually reading the intel documents that tell a very different story. The bottom line is that there was not only credible intel, but then you had the 23 diplomats who had signed the State Department descent cables that was also available to this administration. When you look at his inability to get status of forces agreements, when you look at his inability to protect the commanders, the officers, and the soldiers abroad when it came to the Afghan withdrawal, it's a very clear dereliction of duty. And I've asked Secretary Austin very clearly, can you be removed for a dereliction of duty? He said yes. I explained to him the crime and asked if that would have been something for a removable offense by the officer in one of our hearings. He said yes. What he didn't realize is that I was referring and talking about him, not about another commander. And so at that point, I looked at the hearing, I looked at the investigation, I looked at the individual documents, and I determined that he is ultimately accountable when it comes to the Department of Defense and for what was taking place. Now, here's what's worse, Maria. Coincidentally, about a month and a half ago, Fox ran an article about one of the Gold Star families, Nicole Gee. And in that, she talked to me because she came to me to ask if I would bring her story forward about the fact that there was about a $60,000 fee that was going to be tagged on to a flight to get Nicole to her final resting place. Now, luckily, there was a non-for-profit who stepped up, who took care of this fee, so it was not a burden on the family itself. However, the DOD should have been covering these types of expenses when they're ultimately responsible for it. It shouldn't even be a policy whereby a non-for-profit has to come in and or what the DOD said, the families sometimes will pay the fee and then they reimburse it. Well, now a day after I released these articles of impeachment, now the PR team over at the DOD wants to try and run these stories and discredit myself and others when, in fact, they didn't pay for this flight for that fallen soldier. And that story was over a month and a half ago. So, again, more weaponization, more continuation of the status quo of this Biden administration. And what a shame.
What a shame. What a tragedy. Why was it so chaotic? I remember around that time back in 2021, there was speculation that President Biden just wanted to have a press conference on September 11th and to be able to say we're out of Afghanistan. He wanted to be able to say that on the anniversary of the worst attack on America, September 11th. And now we understand that the White House announced that President Biden is going to observe next month's anniversary of September 11th. That's the 22nd anniversary of 9/11 and those terrorist attacks. He's going to do so in Alaska. He says he's going to be at an Alaska military base instead of New York City or Virginia or Pennsylvania. The president is making the stop in Anchorage on his way back from from his trip to India and Vietnam, Congressman. I'm just wondering if he's basically stopping in Alaska to refuel the plane and thinks that he's going to just go to a military base to appear like he's acknowledging September 11th. Meanwhile, they're just coming back from India and refueling. I mean, what is this about? Observing September 11th from Alaska.
Well, you're exactly right, Maria. He put political optics above military strategy, which is why the botched withdrawal occurred in Afghanistan to begin with. And his inability to try and make it to New York, I think he'll be the only president who didn't go to New York City in to acknowledge the horrible incident that happened on 9/11. Instead, he's sending his vice president and her husband. And then you have Jill Biden, who's going to lay the wreath, So I don't think that Joe Biden has the mental competency to be able to do it. But it's just, again, one more snub to the American people when he can't even be troubled to try and make it there for the anniversary that he was prioritizing an Afghan withdrawal that cost 13 families their lives.
Well, I mean, in the meantime, you've got all of this, evidence and allegations of bribery around Biden, yet it's former President Trump that is in the crosshairs of the Department of Justice. The election interference trial has now been set for March 4th. That's just one day before Super Tuesday. And of course, Super Tuesday is an important date in the election season. It's when 14 states vote in the GOP primary election, Congressman. What's your take on this, that this is when the judge wants the trial to start, March 4th?
Well, the bottom line is it demonstrates once again that Biden is utilizing his position, used to be for money, and now it's to go ahead and target his political opposition. You have it where every single time, whether it was the FD 1023 document, whether it was the Devin Archer testimony, or whether it was further findings on the rest of the Biden crime family, where the very next day a state or federal indictment had been levied. If you look, for example, at even what special counsel Jack Smith was doing in his 4 counts, one of those counts is trying to criminalize political free speech that should be covered in our First Amendment rights. This is something that he was using as USC 18, Section 371. So the bottom line is that Biden will stop at nothing to cover up his family's crimes. The Department of Justice, or now the Department of Injustice, has continued to target the president to try and silence him. And this is actually utilizing and weaponizing the Department of Justice to try and go after their top political opponent, which is President Donald Trump.
Well, look, Morgan Ortagus, I know there is this roundtable underway today with the families of those 13 downed servicemen. Weigh in here as you saw, so much preparation working at the State Department ahead of a September 11th acknowledgement. Your thoughts?
I'm so grateful to my friend Cory Mills, the congressman from Florida, for bringing this up today. The family members will be, there's a House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing today. We should all try to tune into that. It'll be online. I'm sure Cory will be a part of it. And the families are going to talk about what it means to them for the 2-year anniversary. And I think the bottom line, and I've been highlighting all the stories of the 13 so that we don't forget them. They were young men and women. Some of them were born, Maria, after 9/11, yet they still signed up to serve. And we know the hard truth, Maria, is that these deaths were preventable. They did not need to happen, and we still do not have accountability to this day.
Of course. That's absolutely right. Congressman, we'll be watching your work. Thanks very much, Cory Mills. Good to see you.
Thank you, Maria. Have a good day.